Do I dare start filming while the washing machine is going? Like sitting here waiting for it to finish. Hi there, my name's Kirsten. This is the Paper Knits Podcast, episode number 14. Thanks for joining me today. I'm a knitter in Edmonton, Alberta, and here I talk about what I've been working on. Mostly knitting. In theory, I also spin and do some sewing, but those have taken a bit of a back seat lately, and I've just been doing lots of knitting. I only have one finished object to show today. It's only been a couple of weeks since I filmed my last one, but I was feeling motivated to film again, so I wanted to take advantage of that. But I've got, one finished object to show, an almost finished object to show, and a couple of whips, a new whip, because of course, a few other things. So yeah, my last episode marked my 1-year podcast anniversary. And so thank you to everybody who joined in and commented. I just drew the names today for the giveaway. I've got 4 skeins of yarn that I, from local dyers here in Alberta, that I wanted to give away. And so I commented on the posts, but I said that I would also give a shout out on my next episode. So I'm going to do that right now. So first one, Wildflower Magic Knits is going to get this sock set from Rosehill Yarns. And Claudia is going to get this sock yarn from the Yak Yarnery. And Jillian is getting this Ancient Arts skein. And then Brianne is going to get this self-striping one from Comfy Cozy Knits. So I'll have put the comment up there, and hopefully I hear back from everybody about that. I am just like quite delighted to be able to send some people some yarn. So yeah. Something that is exciting is we got a new kitty. This is Margot. She's still a little bit uncertain. We just literally got her yesterday. And she has not met Birdie yet, except she has, because this is actually Birdie's mom. And I'm so delighted by that. So we got Birdie almost 5 years ago. Okay, off you go. And this is her mom. And so I had just been looking back on their Facebook page, dreaming about maybe we could get another kitten that has like the same parents as Birdie. Wouldn't that be so sweet? And then literally a couple days later, hey, get out of there. She's still learning about yarn. A couple days later, the owner posted that she had been retired for a couple years and they were looking to rehome her. It was just too busy with all of the other cats that they had in the house and that kind of thing. She needed a bit more of a quiet retirement. You gonna explore? She's a bit skittish still. And yes, I just very quickly was like, oh, I would love to have her join our family. So we have not done a face-to-face yet with Birdie. We've got a nice space down here for her. She's been exploring lots and sniffing lots. She's done really well meeting the kids. She loves playing with the laser pointer. And we've swapped spots. So like Birdie came down here and then Margot went upstairs and explored, and that went well. They're both a little bit like, something's different. But they both kind of like settled in, and Margot like hopped up onto Birdie's tower and like sat there for a little bit and like brought some of Birdie's toys down here. And yeah, so we're trying to take it easy. We really want them to like each other. We'll work towards them meeting face to face here. But anyways, so yes, another kitty to grace us with her presence on the podcast. Sometimes she'll like be going about her business, doing whatever, but then if she like makes eye contact with me, then she's like, wait, I'm being observed. One thing that I just really also just kind of like warms my sentimental heart. I think why they had to retire her is that she got sick during one of her pregnancies and lost her litter and had to be spayed. And so as the owner was telling me this, I was thinking like, I think I really need this cat. So yeah, it just felt, it felt like it was meant to be. Yep, I can feel a kinship with her of like some pregnancy complications and birth trauma. So does that seem silly to share that with a cat? I don't know. Anyways, we're excited to have her join our family. I better close the door, I think, so that she is not, I'm going to be distracted by her this whole time. So she's a little bit heftier than Birdie, and she hasn't quite figured out how to get up onto the railing, like the ledges in our basement. It's just kind of funny. She's like wants to get up there, but she hasn't quite figured out how to like coordinate herself yet to get up there. It's cute. Okay, so in my last episode, I did not get dressed and wore my pajamas with my turtle dove cardigan, but I said I did do my hair and makeup, and today I am dressed, but I did not do my hair and makeup because of my finished object. So this is my Faye Cowl by Barnaby Knits. I have been working on this since January. It was a bit of a slow go. It shouldn't have taken me that long, but it did. It is a reversible double knit, well, not double knit, but ends up being double knit cowl, and it's a little bit snug. So it will not be one for me to be wearing while I have cute hair and makeup on, but it also is going to be warm and functional in the cold Edmonton winters. Something I don't like about like scarves or shawls or even some of my other cowls is that in order for me to like keep it above my face so I can actually be warm, then I have to go like this. I have like my chin down and my shoulders up to like bring up the whatever is around my neck to keep me warm. This will stay in place. So, you know, there we go. I can like be an old-timey bank robber, or can just be taking my kids to school when it's -30 here in Edmonton. So I did reduce the stitch count on it. The pattern was supposed to have like 35 more stitches in it, and I decided to cast on less and then refused to like put it onto waste yarn for me to try it on the whole time, because I was like, it'll be fine. And I really do think it's fine. But it's snug to get it on and off. But it feels very cozy and warm. So you do a provisional cast on at the beginning, knit this first section of color work, change to the other section of color work, put those stitches on hold, and then I blocked it, let it dry. It took a while to dry, the like double layer, and then you graft the 5 stitches together, which took me like an hour to graft 130 stitches or something. And in the pattern, the inside pattern is knit on a smaller gauge. So you go down in needle size so that it's tighter, it's smaller, folds in on itself nicely. I didn't want to do that because I had already reduced the stitch count, but also this was not a thought through project. Okay, so yeah, I've said before, it had a bit of a rocky start, had to cast it on 3 times. That last time I think is when I decided like, I'm actually going to cast on less stitches, and didn't go through and like make sure that all the stitch counts worked later on. And so when I got to the change in pattern, then the stitch count didn't work, so I had to throw in a few decreases, and so it automatically made it smaller then because the stitch count was less. And then as I was grafting, I had 6 stitches left on one needle and 9 stitches left on the other one, which is a no-no when you're grafting. And so I quickly like did a few knit 2 togethers kind of thing on the back, and it's fine. I didn't even examine it that closely once I finished it to like, yeah, see how messy that ended up looking, but I think it's fine. it's tucked on the inside. It will be secure and good to go. So anyways, I'm glad to get this off my needles. I was enjoying the color work and also was just like ready for it to be done. I knit it with Frankie Gray Fibers merino nylon fingering base in the color Folklore, which is Taylor Swift inspired colorway, and then charcoal. I'm going to take it off again. The only thing is, I wonder if I was showing just now as I was holding it up. Let me see if I can get that to show up. Can you see there is a yellow splotch right there, which appeared after I blocked it. And so I don't know what was up. I don't know if man, I'm like seeing spots now. There's just the one yellow blob. And it's like it covers over 2 stitches. So I'm just going to go back and like Swiss darn it, but I wanted to show it. I don't know what was up. If there was something in my like basin that I use to block my knits, or I'm kind of wondering if there was like a speckle of dye powder or something left on it. I don't know. That's what it looks like. Like, it looks like a speckle, all of a sudden a yellow speckle, which was not part of the theme of the Folklore colorway. So yeah, I don't know what's up with that. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna just quickly do a little Swiss darn over top of it like a duplicate stitch, and it will be just fine. It did even out very nicely when I blocked it. I gave it a good long soak, and I kind of like wasn't that careful with it. It's superwash. But some of my color work was like kind of uneven. I'd mentioned that the last time, and I think it blocked out really nicely. So yeah, there's the one side. And then I really like this pattern. Like, it's just feels very classic, and I don't know what the inspo would be for this. It feels Scandinavian, I guess, is as specific as I feel like I can be based on my knitting history knowledge. But anyways, so it will not get used until the summer. I mean, not in the, no. It's summer now. I won't be needing this to like bury my nose into until the winter, but it will go in my winter accessories pile. And I was really wanting to cast on something new, but I told myself I had to finish this first. And so once I had it blocked and then left it for like a week, it didn't need that long to dry, but I cast on something new in the meantime, because I wanted this off the needles. So I will come back to what the new thing that I cast on. But I also want to show off my Rowan cardigan. And so last time I had like half of the second front section to do, and then that was all my pieces, and then I had to seam everything up. And so I don't know why, I just like, I wasn't expecting to get this much done. This is just in the last 3 weeks. I was just like really motivated all of a sudden to finish that front piece. Like, was ready to be done with the cables, and I think because, you know, you knit up to a certain length and then you start doing shaping, and so it like adds a little bit of interest to it. You're decreasing stitches every time, so you know that your rows are getting smaller, and so that last bit just like, it just zoomed. And so yeah, that felt just like really satisfying to get that done. I felt very accomplished, and I had the 2 fronts and then 1 sleeve to block, and I had already blocked the back and the other sleeve. And so that was nice because I could kind of make sure my sleeves were the same when I blocked it. And I had been worried that my sizing was going to be a little bit off because I knit it at a different gauge than the pattern. So I knit a different size than what I was like, what the measurements I was aiming for. But when I went to block it and like pin everything out, like I was pretty much spot on. It's a tad longer. And I mentioned last time my sleeves are a bit long, but they're actually not as long as I thought they were going to be. Like, I had just been kind of like holding them up to my shoulder as they were like, you know, just the funny like trapezoid shape of a sleeve to try and figure out how long they were going to be. So they are long, but they're not like long. I thought they were going to be like past my fingers long, and they're not. It's like a comfy long and easy to like roll up my sleeve. So anyways, I blocked it, let it dry a lot. This is Aran weight yarn, Briggs & Little Heritage. I've said before, but like it blooms so beautifully. And also the water was so dirty looking. And so I don't know what exactly is going on with that. If there's lots of lanolin left in the wool, if there's spinning oil left in the wool. But the fact like how dirty the water was, and then how much the fabric changes once you block it, like it is clear that it like really benefits from a good block. A wash, right? It's not just like I'm gonna block it and like pin it out. It's like it needs a wash. Just like seeing it like transform into its final form, and just like the cables all like nestling in together, like it was really lovely. I really enjoyed that part. So yeah, and then I like hunkered down and like sewed it all up. And so I set a timer for myself. Like I kept track, like I punched in, punched out every time I sat down to work on it to seam it, because I was really curious how long it was going to take. It took 6.5 hours for me to finish the pockets. They're seamed all the way around on the inside here. I had to do a tubular bind off on the top of the pocket ribbing, and then seam up the sides, and then seam the shoulders. We'll seam the top shoulder seam, and then do the set-in sleeve and all the way down. And so I did it in a different order than what was recommended in the pattern, which I don't think mattered, but how the shoulder comes together at the top didn't make sense to me. And I was pinning it in place with just like some big like plastic stitch markers, and like made my husband put it on so that I could kind of like envision what was going on. And there's not that many projects of this on Ravelry, and so I was like looking at everybody's pictures and like trying to like zoom in on the shoulder area, like looking at this like kind of blurry picture. So I'm gonna see if I can show it off here. I don't know how well it's gonna show, but so the seam here, that's the top of the back, and then the front, it's like a little bit past the top of my shoulder, and then the top of the sleeve went really narrow at the top. I'll put a picture in what it looked like. It was really narrow at the top, and it kind of slots in. I think I've only done one other set-in sleeve sweater that I had to seam, but I've sewn some set-in sleeves. And so when you see the pattern piece of a set-in sleeve, it's very like rounded on the top. That curve matches the curve of the body piece. You ease in your sleeve and sew it up. And that sounds so easy, but it's like a very difficult task for me to do when I'm sewing. But how those pieces fit together made more sense. And so then when I saw these pattern pieces, it looked like it wasn't going to fit into place. And I did actually, when I was seaming it up, I grabbed like a little bit extra here beyond where my like selvage was. I don't know if you can see that. Like I gradually went from like grabbing one stitch to grabbing like 3 or 4 stitches just to like ease it into place a little bit better. And I think, and then I just like matched it on the other side, and I think it worked well. So I don't feel like I'm a seaming expert, obviously, because I've only done it a couple of times, but I was like quite proud of myself with how this went. I just like sat on the couch. My husband and I were watching Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is 4.5 hours long. So yeah, anyways, that was a good movie to be watching while I was mostly looking down and knitting up a sweater or sewing up a sweater. But yeah, I was able to like match up things really well. I could, because all of the cable patterns match, starting from the bottom up, then I could match like, okay, on this row on this cable is going to match up with this row on this cable. In theory, I knit everything the same, except I didn't quite. So I did have to like do a little bit of fudging when I got to the underarm. It's like they didn't quite match up, and so I would take like a little bit extra from the big side that's too big to try and like ease it down. This sweater has a garter selvage and then a slip stitch, and it made the seaming really easy. It was really clear to see where the and it makes a very nice seam. And so this is the 2 slip stitches on either side, and it just like makes this very nice seam. And then on the inside you can see the selvage there. And yeah, that really helped. Obviously it's not done. Like I haven't dealt with all my ends yet. Most of them I have, but not all of them. And my next step is to do the collar. And so I've been feeling a little bit indecisive about what I want to do. And in the pattern, you pick up all around the edge, the neckline, and do 2x2 ribbing for I think 6 inches in total, and then you fold it back on itself so that it's double thickness, and then like, you know, sew it along the edge of the sweater. And I just was feeling like I didn't know if that's what I wanted to do, and I started looking on Ravelry, looking at other people's, just like searching every single cardigan pattern I could find. I kind of wanted to just do a stockinette instead of doing the ribbing. And so same thing, if I'm just like picking up along the edge, knitting outwards with stockinette, double the length that I want it to be, fold it under, seam it up. You know, stockinette rolls, but it wouldn't matter because I'm not leaving it as a raw stockinette edge. I'm folding it over on itself. And yeah, I just could not find even one example of what that might look like. And so I was like, okay, that seems like that's not a thing that people do, so maybe I'm not going to do that. And then I was looking, lots of the ones that were stockinette were double knit. And so then they're knit vertically, double knit. And I cast on, or I started doing that on the bottom just to, I don't have it on anymore. I did like probably up to the top of the pocket. I just picked up that many stitches and then started working double knit all the way up. And it was super annoying and tedious to do a like applied double knit button band. And the other option would be to knit a double knit button band separately and then seam it on. And so that's what I'm swatching for right now. This is what I have so far. Also, it will take forever, but it will be less tedious than attaching it directly onto the sweater. Like where this was meeting up against this was really messy. Like it was like pulling funny and like it didn't look good. And with how neat and tidy the rest of the seaming was on this, right? Like I wanted that last step to look good. Anyway, so here's what I have. I just like guessed how wide I wanted it to be. Basically, I'm doing the same garter and then a slip stitch edging on it. And kind of made up as I went how I was doing that. And I think it's working okay. So I've kind of put it off to the side because I wasn't 100% sure if I wanted to do this or not, if I should just do the normal pickup, do the 2x2 ribbing. I could just do 3 inches of 2x2 ribbing, bind it off like normal instead of doing it doubled over. I really like the look of the double knit button bands. I was also searching for cardigan, like ready to wear cardigans, to see what those mostly looked like. And a double knit button band seems common, as did the ribbing. The pattern doesn't have buttons or buttonholes, and I don't think that I will add that in. But I was pondering that. I was like, that could be a possibility too. I could add buttons. I had been worried that the sweater wasn't going to fit. That is not, it's fine. It fits great, I think. It's definitely, like it's an open sweater, right? And so that's why I think I shouldn't try and add buttons because it's not meant to button. Like the front panels are not, like I guess I could knit an even wider button band, but anyways, I'm quite happy with the fit. Like as soon as I sewed on the front panel, I like pinned the top on and like went and tried it on and looked at it. It's like the pockets are nice and big. It's like got such a beautiful cable pattern on the back. And the arms aren't too big. Like I was worried they were maybe going to be kind of baggy. And it feels really good. I'm so pleased with it. Yeah. I had said last time, like, maybe it'll get done by August, so it'll be done, have taken me a whole year to finish. And that might still be the case if I still kind of stall out on this button band. or collar. I guess I just said that I won't add buttons. I feel really happy with how it has come together. So the 6.5 hours of finishing was a lot, but worth it with how it went. I only had to unpick one of my seams, which like that's pretty good. And oh, one thing that was annoying was I had spit spliced the yarn the whole way through on the sweater, except for like my first change. Like when I ran out of my first ball of yarn, I didn't for some reason realize like, oh, this super rustic yarn, I can spit splice it. And so that end I had to weave in, or I probably haven't yet, but and everywhere else I spit spliced it. But then I started doing that for when I was seaming it. And so sometimes if I still had like a long tail at the cast on or something of that piece, then I would just use that one, spit splice a longer piece of yarn to it and use that to seam. But pulling a spit splice in and out and in and out of my seam was either it was too bulky and it wouldn't fit through nicely, or it just started to like peel apart. And so then I had this like, it was still felted and I couldn't re-felt the yarn, but it was just starting to like, yeah, pull apart. And so sometimes I'd like be pulling through to like do my mattress stitch. That's what it's called. Mattress seam. Anyways, and it would just break apart, like where I had joined it. That wasn't ideal. Something I will keep in mind for the future if I am seaming and I've run out of yarn. I don't know what the best practice is there. It's like handy dandy to just be able to spit splice it. So I don't know if I just like was not doing that efficiently or something, or that's a lot of wear and tear on the yarn, like weaving it in and out. Okay, I think that's everything I wanted to say about this. So that was my FO, my almost FO, and now I'm going to give you an update about my Admix pullover. Where is it? Here it is. So this is Admix pullover by Jared Flood, and this pattern just came out in March, and it just like caught my eye. I loved the sample colors. I think it looks so interesting. The shape looks perfect for me. Yeah, I just decided I was going to go for it. So the Fiber Nook, which is one of my local yarn stores, had exactly what I wanted in stock. I was able to go and like look at it in person and buy everything I needed, which was just delightful. And I have the front finished. So, ta-da! I just finished it last night. I had put a progress keeper from the last episode, like a good little podcaster, and was expecting to like, knit a couple more inches. But like, no, just kidding. I finished the front of it. It looks a little bit like an apron or something right now, but it's gonna be cool, I promise. The row gauge on this is quite dense, and so I was worried it was gonna take like a long time to make progress on it, but it was just like, it zoomed, like it was engaging in like a nice way that wasn't too complicated. And so, and I think kind of same thing, it's like I had to knit for a certain number of inches, and then, then you'd get to the shaping section for the armholes, and then, so then you're kind of paying attention to that. And then last night I did the neck hole shaping and the shoulders, and stopped for supper, but then pretty much did it all in one go because it was a little bit complicated. And partly just because I was being lazy. You knit across, bind off for the neckline, and then pick up, use a second ball of yarn on that side. And I should have made a separate ball of yarn, but I just grabbed the outside of my ball, and I was using the inside of the ball on the other side. And so then I had the inside and outside of the blue and the inside and outside of the red as I was working across, and it got super chaotic, and I was starting to get like panicky. It was not a good choice. I should not have done that. It was just getting so tangled and could not be untangled, and yeah, someone's like, oh, do you want to like watch a movie or something? Like, no, I have to sit here and finish this, because if I stand up and like put it down and come back to it, like I don't think I'm gonna know what's going on. So I finished the bind off on the shoulders and could snip the yarn away and then get it all unraveled and situated, and now it is much better. So I will tell you what I'm making this with. I guess this is Brooklyn Tweed Arbor, which is the red, which is the alizarin color, and then the blue is dapple. In the blueprint color, which is the, is it merino cotton? I think. Man, why didn't I look that up before? I was right, merino cotton. The arbor is 100% targi. So they're both DK weight, and the fabric is just very cool. Yes, I am really enjoying it. This is their Admix pattern. I don't know if it's something that exists in other, like I know they have a hat with the same pattern, but I don't know if there's like other patterns out there that use the same stitch pattern. Probably, but it's interesting. When I was swatching, I made a point of purposefully making a mistake on it so that I could see what happens, what it looks like when I've made a mistake, because I could anticipate this, like, oh, I'm going to knit one where I'm supposed to purl one, and if I can't tell by looking at the fabric what I was supposed to do instead and then how to fix it, then this is going to be a, like, I have to unravel it and go back to the beginning kind of thing. So I was like a very good swatcher and made a mistake, very quickly figured out, okay, it was quite clear. It starts to look like ribbing if you have your stitches like offset by one. I also made a point of, okay, I need to know how to read my knitting. Depending on if you're using the red or the blue, your first stitch is different. And so it's the same pattern all the way across, but like I said, it's like offset by one. And so it's kind of like moss stitch, but with a knit one below thrown in there. I was very quickly then figured out, it's like I can look down 4 rows, see what I had done the last time I used blue, and then follow it along. And so that was very helpful, especially once I started decreasing or increasing stitches, because it wasn't just, okay, the selvage is a knit one, and then when I'm using red, then I knit one below, purl one, or whatever it is. I could just read what my fabric was telling me, and this is like, that should be basic. Like, it's not that big of a deal, except it is, because sometimes I just go and I don't pay attention. And so I was proud of myself that I like made myself pay attention with my swatch, and then obviously had a lot of practice working the whole, you know, up to the underarms before I had to do anything interesting. I am really enjoying this so far. I think that, like I said this last time, but like doing the different colors every 2 rows, having every other row then is a different stitch pattern, like I think it just like helped keep it engaging. And then it's simple enough that I don't really have to pay attention. And so once I get into the rhythm, once I know which stitch I need to do on that row, then it's really rhythmic and I can go quickly. So that helped a lot. I think like being able to zoom through what I did. One thing that I noticed I needed to pay attention to is I said this last time, I couldn't get gauge. It didn't matter how small I went on my needles, I was only getting, I think, 18 or 19 stitches. So I was like, fine, that's what it wants to be. And so I'm knitting size 3 numbers, but I will end up with size 4 size. But sometimes the instructions tell you to knit however many inches. Sometimes it tells you to knit however many rows. Oh, so yeah, my stitch gauge is off, but so is my row gauge. And so initially I'd started doing it based on the number of rows, and then thankfully realized, I was like, wait a second, my row gauge is also off. And so if I knit 20 rows, my 20 rows is going to be different than what the pattern is telling me it to be. And so I converted what the pattern said to the number of inches it should be, and then used that number with my row gauge to figure out how many rows I needed to knit, and did some adjustments. So sometimes I can just go right to the size 3 numbers and use those directly. Sometimes I was having to do some calculations, or if I'm looking at if it did say then, oh, knit for 6 inches, then I had to make sure I was looking at the size 4, because I want it to be 6 inches, not 5 3/4 inches for the size down. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's another thing that I've like made that mistake before, and I'm proud of myself that I figured it out this time before I was too far in. It was like my first there's increase rows at the, like shaping along the sides. The first set of my increases I did at the wrong place, but it was fine. Like I compensated for it on my next ones. So yeah, so next up is the back, which will be pretty much identical to this until the neck shaping. And then you seam the shoulders together for the front and the back. And then you pick up and work the sleeves down flat and then seam the sleeves. And so I think probably by the time I'm like getting to the end of the back, I'll be like bored. But then the sleeves are a little bit different. There's a bit of a different pattern that you pick up with that I need to gauge swatch for still. And then they will feel quicker because they're shorter rows, obviously. And yeah, I'm excited for this one. The fabric is very nice. I'm excited to block it and see how that feels. And yeah, it's coming along really well. So when I finished my Faye Cowl, I decided that I was allowed to cast on something new. And I had bought yarn for this sweater this past Boxing Day as also a like grief day. And it's just been like sitting in a box in my knitting room. It's not like I could even see the yarn, but every once in a while I would just like remember this sweater. Like, oh yeah, I really want to make that. Oh, I really want to make that. Like the color work was just like speaking to me, and I was excited to use the yarn. And so I decided I was going to cast on a worsted weight sweater in May, which is not a worsted weight color work sweater, which is so not needed. But I just couldn't get it out of my mind. Same way with the Admix pattern. So I cast on the Luma pattern by Sari Nordland. I don't know if that's how you say it. Lumme. And I'm using the Rerum Natura Gilead, which I had not used before, and I am just loving it. I obviously am not very far into it, except that the neckband is folded over, and so that was a lot of 1x1 ribbing. But I've just gotten like the first, you know, I've done like 2 or 3 of the increase rows kind of thing on the yoke. But yes, I am just enjoying it so much. It's perfectly rhythmic color work. The yarn is lovely. It's woolen spun merino, French merino and Portuguese, and it's milled in France. I think I really like woolen spun yarn. Like, yeah, I think it's just all of it has just been delightful. I'm so happy with it. So this is my first Sari Nordland pattern I've ever knit. I'm a big admirer of her work, and I have quite a few saved on Ravelry, but this is the first time I've actually knit one of her patterns. And so far so good. It's so funny when I do a top-down yoke, colorwork yoke sweater, I will get about this far and then be like, wow, I'm almost done. This is like going so fast. Like I'm basically finished. And it's like, no, like obviously I'm not almost finished. Like that does not even make sense. I think it's just enjoyable for me. And so, yeah. Anyways, I've just been dreaming of this sweater. I'm excited to have it. It's May long weekend here in Canada. I don't know. Does the States have that? Do other countries have that? Ours is because of Queen Victoria, so I'm assuming that the States does not do that. May long in Alberta is notorious for like, it's the big like first camping weekend of the year, and like it always snows kind of thing. So it's not snowing here, but it is pouring rain, and it's like 9 degrees outside. And so it is not weird that I am knitting this sweater right now, but we also like a couple weeks ago had like 26 degrees. And so yes, soon this won't make sense to be knitting on, and I might put it aside until the fall, but for right now I'm really enjoying it. Sari's is knit with Cascade 220, I believe, in like the same color work, or these same colors. And I really love the like black and white contrast, and it's great, but it's black. The black color is Fusain, and then the white is Poivre Blanc. White pepper. And I don't know what the other word means. I'm gonna look that up. Charcoal. There you go. And yes, I'm really loving, I love the contrast on Sari's sample of it, and I just wanted to recreate that and really wanted to try this yarn. So all in all, it's just lovely. This is what the yarn looks like. I should have shown that earlier. These little, those look messy. They've been sitting in a box. I don't know why they would be messy, but they're just like, they're plump and woolly, and they're still, it's like very soft, but it doesn't feel like slippery like sometimes merino does. So yes, delightful. Okay, I was going to show one more thing, but I changed my mind. I will show that next time because I forgot to grab it from upstairs. And I feel like I've been talking really fast, and so I feel out of breath. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. One thing I wanted to say, which is maybe boring because I don't have the yarn with me, but I ordered a bunch of yarn from Sonder Yarn Co., which I've never used their yarn before. Tracy from the Grocery Girls knit the Small Fry Scarf by Samantha Guerin. And Tracy knit hers with one skein of the Sonder Yarn Sunday Morning Luxe Sport. And I saw that scarf and immediately thought of a friend of mine, and I was like, I should make that scarf for her. That's such her vibe. Also, that means that I get to like buy this fancy skein of yarn. And so I saw her last week and I was like, hey, can I please knit this for you? Don't say no. And so we like picked out a color and I ordered a skein of the fancy Cashmere Luxe, or whatever it's called, Luxe Sport. And then of course, like, well, it's, you know, I'm paying for shipping from Quebec. I should just also buy myself some yarn. Been wanting to try their yarn forever. And yes, so I also bought a sweater's quantity of their Sunday Morning 4-ply. And their ecru base was on sale. So it was like $27 a skein, which is a very good price for that yarn. I don't know if they're discontinuing maybe the ecru base. It's like a white base versus the like more beigey one. So I like very quickly planned out an entire sweater. Bought the, I'm gonna make the Straya cardigan by Andrea Mowry. I picked out a bunch of minis then that I think will coordinate, and I'm excited. It's gonna come next week. And why I am mentioning this now when it's not exciting because I can't show you this beautiful yarn, but Sonder Yarn is at Knit City right now in Toronto, and I saw their little like video of their booth, and they had a bunch of their minis there, and like some of them were out of stock already when I was ordering it last week. And I was like, oh, I probably caught that just in time. Like if I wanted to buy those, they're probably not going to have those left over after a very busy yarn festival. And I felt like extra like justified in my large yarn purchase that I made, so that I could get free shipping for my friends, otherwise $40 skein of yarn. So anyways, I will show that next time because it will be beautiful, I'm sure. And I do not need another sweater's quantity worth of yarn, but I am excited to use that yarn. It was on sale. I've only heard good things about it, so I'm excited about that. So yes, the exciting thing that's happening right now in our house is that we have a new cat. I will keep you updated about how that transition is going. Birdie did not make an appearance today because Birdie is not allowed in the basement right now. But hopefully seeing a beautiful little Margot is also nice. Okay, that's everything for today then. You can find me on Instagram as I'm on Instagram as @paper.knits. I'm on Ravelry as thisispaperknits. And you can like and subscribe to my videos here on YouTube. Get notified whenever I randomly post one. Thanks again to everybody who entered the giveaway last time, and quite a few of you who've like been here from day one, which just like, oh, I appreciate it so much. Thanks for being here, and happy knitting, and I will catch you next time. Bye bye.